Welcome to Late with the Rings, a podcast dedicated to Lord of the Rings the card game. My name's John, and here's my co-host. It looks like meat's back on the menu, boys. It's Emery.
Hello, John.
Hello, sir. You're looking delicious.
Well, you know, people have been known to rip themselves apart to try and get at me before, but actually, I think it's the quality of the meat, to be honest, rather than...
Yeah.
Well, that could sound bad.
Oh, dear. How are you, sir?
I'm not bad. Not too bad at all. Basking in this glorious
Winter
early
sun.
winter sunshine. Yeah, streaming in through the window.
Lovely.
It's quite pleasant.
Beautiful. Lovely. And you've been up to anything interesting?
I have been mainly watching stuff since we last recorded, so it's had a pretty unexciting time. Apart from, what have I seen? I watched those Star Wars mini films, those little 15-minute animation things.
Oh, the anime ones. Yeah.
Yeah. So I saw them. They're a bit of fun.
Is that your review?
Nothing to write home about. Some of them. A couple of them are really good though.
Put it on the poster. Nothing to write home about.
Nothing to write home, but yeah, that should be part of the advertising. Look, it's nothing special, guys, but it's something.
It passes the time.
Exactly. And actually, I watched another animation as well, which is a friend of mine recommended to me My Neighbor Totoro.
Oh, yeah.
It's a Studio Ghibli film, and I've only seen a couple of the Studio Ghibli ones, and each one I've seen has been really quite good, to say the least. So I watched that, and that was pretty marvellous as well. That was good fun. Then, what else did I see? I saw a film I hadn't seen in ages, which was, I'll tell you why. It's because my dad is a big fan of the TV series Fringe.
Oh,
okay?
yeah.
And they're showing reruns on the telly. So
with Denethor.
For one reason or another. Sorry?
With Denethor.
With Denethor, exactly. Yes, Denethor. John
Noble. Yeah.
Basically, he plays this kind of crazed scientist guy in it, and he's probably the guy who makes the series. To be honest, he's quite amusing. But I did watch it with basically for one reason or another. I've had to go and spend a whole bunch of time at my parents' house over the last few weeks, so I've been watching a few of them with him, and I've seen it before, and then I saw the film Altered States.
Oh,
which I hadn't seen. I've only seen it once, and I hadn't seen that since probably, I don't know, I was 17 or 18 years old or something.
Me too, but I remember it being a Stone Cold classic. Is it still a Stone Cold classic?
Yes, awesome. It's really good. It's it's crazy. It's very much a film of its time in some ways, if you know what I mean. Like a avant-garde, it's a seemingly futuristic film, not in terms of the plot, just in terms of the way the film is made of the time, but obviously it looks like it is of the time when you see it now. But yeah, it just struck me, I thought, oh, that's where they got that idea from.
Yeah.
And it's the whole thing kind of linked up, which I hadn't made that connection before. But yeah, that was great. Really, really, really enjoyed that film. Definitely worth watching. It's crazy psychedelic experiments in sensory deprivation tanks. It's mental.
And that was just staying with your parents?
Yeah. I had an interesting childhood, John. And then I went to the cinema for the first time.
Oh, my goodness.
Since God knows when. Well, it must be a couple of years, to be honest. So made sure booked up at the last minute, so we could. So you can see the map of the screen.
Yeah.
So there was literally like 3 seats taken. So all right, go to this one, and there were literally 5 of us in the whole cinema. So it's great. Everyone's spaced out.
Perfect.
And we saw Dune.
Oh, I haven't seen it yet, but again, because I want to go to the cinema and see it, but all our cinemas are closed right now. So
yeah. What I will say is, without revealing anything of the plot, well, you know the plot anyway, but without any spoilers for any of our listeners or whatever, I thought I would compare it a lot to the David Lynch film, and I didn't too much. I did a bit, but not too much. I think it kind of, and I read the book a long time ago, and I think it rings true to the book, maybe a little bit more than the David Lynch one does, perhaps, but I could be remembering the book wrong, because a lot happens in the book.
Well, I remember the David Lynch one. Because I read the book. I think I saw the David Lynch film before I read the book.
Same here, yeah.
And then when I read the book, I thought, oh, actually, this film sticks pretty close to it, apart from like the last third. It's like they went, okay, we'll make this book really quite accurately on film, and oh my God, it's already 2.5 hours long. Quick, squeeze the last third of the film into the next 15 minutes. That's what I remember from the David Lynch one compared to the book. So does this one do a bit of... Well,
okay.
This one's been split up, yeah? This is not the whole story.
It definitely hasn't rushed to the end. I'll tell you that. It's as long as the David Lynch one, but it's longer than a David Lynch one, but it gets to halfway through the story.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's quite a beautiful film, actually. So there's some, and like I say, I won't say too much, but just in terms of the visuals and some of the choices of the way he shoots some of the scenes, yeah, it's very engaging from that perspective. I don't know what it'd be like for somebody who didn't know anything about Dune and whether it'd be quite confusing. Because I think that's one thing that the David Lynch one did really well. Because when you do read the book is crazy.
Yeah,
like it's so much happens. There's so much to take in, and I think the David Lynch one made sense of the book pretty well. But so it's hard for me to tell whether this one did, just because I'm so aware of the story now. You know, I can imagine some people being confused by it. It was my hunch.
It's just the way you stand.
Yeah. And last thing I've seen a lot in the last couple of weeks, I'm basically 4/5 of the way through it, pretty much. I've been watching that Beatles documentary.
Oh, yeah, Peter Jackson.
Yeah, so obviously being Peter Jackson, it's split into 3 parts, and each part is massively long. And I'm sure there'll be an extended version released in a couple of years from now. So I haven't got rid of my Disney Plus subscription yet.
No.
It's popped up on there, and that's been great. I think it appeals to. You have to be one or both of these things. Either I think a big Beatles fan,
yeah,
or somebody who's interested in the creative process behind sort of music making or the way a band might work off each other. And I love both of those things. So I've very much enjoyed it, actually. So just sitting there watching people. Sometimes do a take of a song for the 6th time. Yeah, in the space of 10 minutes, but it doesn't get boring. I found it really fascinating.
Well, I was a big fan of the what were they called? Were they the anthology series, the Beatles anthologies that came out in the 90s? There was 3 triple albums, and it was stuff like that. It was like, well, for the next 15 minutes on this album, it's just various takes of Eleanor Rigby.
Yeah, I think it works better as a film, maybe. Yeah, I didn't get. I know the ones you're talking about. I never got those. In fact, I'm not one generally for special editions of things with lots of outtakes and all of this.
Oh, but this wasn't a special edition. This was just outtakes.
Oh, just so didn't even have the finished tune.
No. It was just the creative process and sort of rarities and things like that. It's really a fascinating set of albums, actually. But it's when I was younger, I'd happily put that on and listen to it as if I was watching a documentary.
So much younger than today.
Write that down. That is gold.
No, that's another one. Oh, sorry, I interrupted you.
It doesn't matter. It's all nonsense.
I'm sorry. It's all nonsense.
Well, this will teach us to be off of the podcast for a whole month because look at the length of this introduction of just you rattling off what you've been watching.
Yeah. Has it been a month?
Must
My
be.
Goodness. No. Is it?
Yeah,
Maybe it is.
It's always a little bit longer when we have to go and play the game because, we have things to do.
It's true.
Homework.
Listener, it doesn't seem like a month. Don't use the H word, John. This is a positive podcast. I still maintain that homework is in the top 5 poorest inventions of man. There's some pretty bad ones. Nuclear bomb, any kind of chemical, biological weapon, something like that. Homework. It's probably top 3, isn't it?
It's got to be up there.
What? Who came up with that? All right, we're going to get these kids. We're going to sit them in a classroom all day doing loads of boring stuff that they don't want to do. And only that, when you go home, you have to carry on doing it in your own time. What psycho came up with that? Some psychotic teacher who's lazy, didn't like children, and didn't want to do all the work themselves. So it's like, oh, I'm not going to bother to teach you. You do some of it in your own time. What is this, a one-way ticket? Be some embittered 17th century or 18th century British guy, guaranteed. Anyway, apparently, I'm not sure if this is true or not, but somebody did tell me this. Apparently in Finland,
Yeah.
and they have one of the best education systems on the planet,
Okay.
they don't do any homework.
Ah.
There's no homework as part of the...
Maybe that's why it's the best. And did the person who tell you this, was it a child?
Yeah, it was. Just got home from school
Yeah.
for a stack load of homework about Finland. Well, I never bothered doing it anyway, to be honest with you.
It's noted.
So it is noted. I'm having flashbacks. So, anyway, John, how have you been? What have you been up to?
I've been all right, thank you. Yeah, you put me to shame a bit because I certainly haven't. Well, I say I haven't done as much as you. It sounds to me like you've just been watching TV.
I've done nothing.
And
I've just watched telly.
One trip to the cinema.
Yeah,
But the thing is,
yeah.
I haven't even managed that one trip to the cinema. I've watched a bit of TV and I've watched some films, but let's not tread over that now. That's the beauty of this is I can mention that next time as the thing I've been doing. The most important thing that's happened since we've been away from your ears is I have been in contact with the Dwarrow Scholar.
Oh, hello, Vicar. So, okay.
So just
Is this the Ziggle question?
it certainly is, and so
God. You kept this from me. You left it to the podcast. You tease.
so just in case anyone needs reminding, a few
I've been able to
episodes
sleep at night with this question going through my head, John.
when we went over the player cards from the Khazad-dûm set, there is a player card in there called either the Sigil Miner or the Ziggle Miner, and we discussed it on the podcast that we didn't know the pronunciation. And then last episode, our Share the Love section featured a website called the Dwarrow Scholar, and there's a guy who has beyond the call of duty when it comes to studying dwarfs. So I contacted him to put this discussion to rest. Sigil versus Ziggle.
Oh, I'm going Ziggle.
Well, that's where your money was to start with, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. I'm sticking with it.
Okay. You don't
Come
want
on, Dwarrowdelf cycle. Sort me out.
you don't want
There's
to
a lot
change.
riding on this.
Dwarrowdelf cycle? Dwarrow Scholar.
Sorry. Sorry. That's something else. Okay. No, I don't want to change. I don't want to change it.
No? Don't want to change? You don't want to change your mind?
I'm sticking.
You're sticking with it? Sticking with what's in the box?
Yeah.
Okay. Here is the definitive answer. Now, without to read it out, I'm going to have to give away the answer. No, I won't. I can do it like this. Sigil, stroke Ziggle, is pronounced with the voiced velar plosive. I'm reading this verbatim, by the way. This is just not...
Obviously.
So it is the G as in get, ground, or wriggle.
Wriggle minor.
So therefore,
Okay.
it is indeed the Ziggle Miner. So congratulations, you win our top prize.
Well, I think we're both winners here because he will never, ever be called the Ziggle Miner again. He will always be referred to as the Wriggle Miner.
Absolutely. No, but this is where things get really interesting, though. Because you know me, the discussion couldn't just stop there.
Yeah, he just replied, "Thank you very much for your swift response."
No, but here, this gets fascinating. And of course, I'm siding on the side of the Dwarrow Scholar here. I mean, it's basically what's going to happen now is a discussion of who is correct, Fantasy Flight Games or the Dwarrow Scholar. I'm going with the Dwarrow Scholar. I'm giving that away already. He states that Ziggle means silver-coloured. So if he was a miner that mines silver, it should be a kibble miner. Because kibble is the element silver, and ziggle is the silver colour. He's not a silver dwarf, is he?
Yeah. Yes, but do you remember Boys from the Black Stuff?
I do.
It wasn't Boys from the Coal Stuff.
No, but the stuff was black.
Yeah, I know. I'm desperately trying to reach that. But you can, I think that's quite a poetic thing, though, isn't it, to call them a silver miner because they're covered in a silverish colour.
Yeah, no, I will allow that.
I like that.
However,
it's not. It's for character's description. It's not his job description.
Okay, I'll allow it. How about the location card? The Ziggle mineshaft. Oh, maybe that works even better.
Yeah.
It's just
Ziggle. What is this? It's for Ziggle mineshaft. Oh, what do you mind there? Kibble.
You better put your sunglasses on. It is shiny in there.
Who's the lead around here? Oh, the older chap, the ziggle-haired gentleman.
But there you go. So
that's amazing. He knew that.
I'm not amazed. This guy's a genius when it comes to dwarves.
I mean, is that all from Tolkien somehow? These pronunciations and things like this. I mean, how did he go to that amount of depth talking in the languages? That's amazing. I know he was obviously hugely interested in languages and did a lot on it, but I didn't realise even down to pronunciations of.
Yeah, but I'm not going to follow this up any further, but I believe this guy.
You know what? I do too. I don't know. I'm not. I don't doubt him for 1 second. Don't get me wrong. I'm with him all the way on this one. That's incredible. That really is amazing. He knows that. Yeah. Well, thank you for Dwarrowdelf Scholar.
No, Dwarrow Scholar.
Why do I keep doing? I'm getting there. That was a bit better than last time. Thank you for Dwarrow Scholar. A scholar and a gentleman.
And a dwarf.
And a dwarf. Is he? Well, no wonder he knows. He just knows.
Oh dear. Yeah.
Has he given any other elemental words like what gold or
no?
Is mithril the same as it is in? It must be.
It must be. Well, you say that.
Must be from the dwarvish.
No. I tell you what. I got a feeling it might not be. I think that mithril is maybe the elvish word. Oh no! Now I'm opening a can of worms.
Not for Ziggle.
No, for mithril.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Exactly. That's a different thing to. No. Sorry, not Ziggle. Kibble.
Kibble. Yeah.
It's a different thing to kibble.
Yes.
Kibble and mithril are not the same thing.
Although mithril is ever so slightly ziggle coloured.
It is, yeah, it is. Yeah, so you could describe it as a mithril shirt or a ziggle shirt, depending on whether you're talking about the material or the colour.
Exactly. It's a ziggle mithril shirt.
And not a ziggle kibble shirt.
Okay. Well, I think we can put that to bed.
We've had a very different couple of weeks, you know. I think it's a conclusion from this.
But I tell you what, we probably have both been doing, and that is playing some Lord of the Rings, the card game.
Yes, we have.
And we have been playing a specific quest. The quest we are going to be talking about on this episode. So this is indeed a spoiler episode in which we will be discussing the Redhorn Gate. Redhorn Gate?
Correct.
A Redhorn Gate.
The Redhorn Gate, No, it's the Redhorn.
The Redhorn Gate. So, if you have not played that quest yet and you are avoiding spoilers, it's probably best to skip the entirety of the rest of this episode. However, if you have played that quest or you don't mind spoilers, we're going to start talking about that quest from now. So, I just Stop the intro there. Did you see that? Just cut it dead.
That was impressive.
Yeah, that's
no messing around.
no messing around. That's a year and a half of podcasting right there. That's experience condensed into one link, into one single moment.
Another 7 years will be masters at this. Well, sir, do you know what I happen to have with me?
Is it the insert?
It's the insert sheet. Now, I think I'm only going to read the first part of the insert sheet.
Okay.
But I will take you through what's on the rest, but I'll only read through the first bit. So, the Redhorn Gate. Difficulty level 6.
Mm-hmm.
And it states, Arwen wishes to visit her father Elrond, and Celeborn, thank you, has bid for heroes to escort her over the misty mountains and safely to Rivendell. But the season grows late, and a sudden chill has descended on the 3 peaks that guard the Redhorn Pass.
Why does she want to go back now?
So can't you wait till the summer? It's a bit chilly. No, I must see my father.
Okay.
It's really urgent. And it's someone who's 4,000 years old or something?
Yeah, she can wait another month.
You can't be in that much of a rush.
No.
Why have they got
to go over the mountains anyway? They've literally just been through... Oh, well, actually, the mines were pretty dangerous. Yeah, that's fair.
There must be a third way, right? Yeah.
Well, obviously you could go around. It must be possible to go around.
It's
eventually.
Be, right? Well, no one's ever gone between those 2 places ever without having to go either through these deadly mines or this impassable mountain. I mean,
yeah.
Seems
unlikely, doesn't it?
Yeah. Oh, maybe we'll dig the map out next time and have a look.
Okay.
We'll do the old Faramir, do the pointing. Rivendell is here. Tap, tap, tap.
Yeah. Lorien is here. Tap, tap, tap. We could just go
rushing.
We could just go around.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Hence the usefulness of the map. They talk about rushing. What was that great line of Gandalf's, which I'm not sure is in the book, but is in the film, where he goes, it's something like, I have walked this earth for 1,000 lives of men, and now I have no time. Or something like that, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool.
That is a cool line. That is a cool line. I don't think you nailed it.
No, I think the second part. Second
part's correct. Now we're both just staring into space.
Yeah,
thinking about it.
Okay, all right.
We've gone from expert broadcasting to truly the worst.
I'm telling you, in 7 years, we'll be right on it. Okay, the rest of it just then tells you which card it's played with.
Yeah.
It tells you what to do in setup, which is exactly the same as which is on the
card.
On the card, so I'm not going to read that. There's a little section about Arwen.
Yeah.
And there's a small one about Caradras, just about the travel effects, which again is on the card.
Yeah.
And then a reminder about secrecy.
Okay, well, it's not a reminder about secrecy. It's actually the first. It's a reminder to our listeners and to you and I.
Oh, yes.
But it's actually the first time it would be mentioned.
You're right.
In the
because I had to get it off this last time.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. You're
but
right,
we won't go into that because that's more obviously player card based, and we're more focusing on the quest itself. So okay, yeah, that's good to skip. Although I would say just a point on which cards make up this AP. Obviously, it is the this particular AP's encounter deck, of course, which comes with the AP, but it's also the last Khazad-dûm deck, so which we haven't used yet in the Khazad-dûm quest. So actually, every encounter card that you'll see in this quest is new. Just as an aside.
Oh, yes, of course you're right, because all of the first ones are in the mines, aren't they?
Absolutely, yeah.
Good point. Well made.
Thank you very much. All right. Well, okay. Well, then, if we're not going to read any more from the insert, ever so slightly disappointing, I must say. But you know, I'm a fan. Should we jump straight to quest card 1A and see what this setup is for this quest?
Yeah. So 1A. So this one's called "Carry On Up the Pass."
Do you know what? I was poised to make that joke, but that's fine.
It never actually entered my head at all, ever, until I just saw it just now. It must be something about your presence, John. That inspired me to do that.
My bawdy humour.
Indeed. Okay, up for pass says Celeborn has bid you escort Arwen to visit her father in Rivendell. Your journey takes you through the Redhorn Gate. Then it has to set up. Oh, by the way, should I point out, Celeborn has bid you escort Arwen. Bid is like, it's somewhere between, in my mind, an order and a request.
And a request, yeah.
It's basically saying, I'm asking you politely to do this, but
Yeah.
underneath, it's an order.
Yeah.
That's a bidding.
I understand you only just escaped from a Balrog with your life, but Arwen kind of needs to go back to Rivendell, so don't unpack.
Yeah. Okay, California. Off we go. Okay. But in all seriousness, okay, set up. Add Caradhras to the staging area. Okay. Remove all copies of Snowstorm from the encounter deck and set them aside out of play. Put Arwen and Domiel into play under the control of the first player.
Okay.
So there's 3 things to look at there.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'll say Snowstorm, take them out, put them aside, don't look at them.
Oh, absolutely.
That's my advice for any time that you have to remove cards at the beginning of the game out of play. Do yourself a favor, just don't read them, because you just get that lovely surprise when they come and ruin your day later.
Yeah. And I don't like to read any of the cards, any of the encounter cards before I play anyway, especially if they're fresh ones. You haven't played in a while, you can't remember them.
Absolutely.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's great to be surprised, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. And also, it'll come as no surprise that we're going to be putting some of those Snowstorm cards into the deck later. And I always try just to put them in without looking at them at that point either. Even though you're going to get them soon, just let it all be a surprise.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad that, I don't think it's a spoiler to say they do get introduced later.
No.
They just sit there on the side
just
as a mascot till the end of the game.
Take them out of the deck, put them in the bin. I don't know why we printed them, really.
It reminds me of the Dol Guldur one.
Oh, yeah.
When I was telling you that time when I was...
But that's the one which... but they soon learnt their lesson about... I think we mentioned at the time that it's with the Nazgul, that in the Dol Guldur set, if you can't remember, listener, it says on the Nazgul card when to put it back into play. Whilst, of course, you're not looking at it. It's out of play. So it's so easy to forget to bring it into play when it should be. And they learnt that lesson immediately. And now any time that cards which are sitting out of play need to come into play, it's always mentioned on either the quest card itself or, say, a location which is already in play, which will instruct you to bring out
another card will tell you to do it. Something else will tell you to do it rather than just having to always be aware of the effect on the card, right?
So ridiculous. Yeah.
Well, I missed that. I think did I tell that? I probably told that story on the podcast actually.
Yeah, I think you did.
Okay. I want to go back to it.
Don't relive it.
Gutting. No, wait. Anyway, sorry. So shall we go through each 3 of those? Probably worth doing, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we've talked about removing Snowstorm, so that's fine.
Yeah.
So add Caradhras to the staging area.
Okay. Well, I have Caradhras here. Shall I read him out? So obviously Caradhras is the great mountain of the Misty Mountains, isn't it? So Caradhras it's going to sit there in the staging area, and it is a unique location, and it will contribute 3 threat. It will take 9 progress to get through it. It is a mountain and snow location.
Mm.
And it states this. Whilst Caradhras is the active location, questing characters get -1 willpower. Okay, that's not too bad, but pretty unpleasant. But then it states, players cannot travel to Caradhras except by quest card effects. And it has 3 victory points. So, basically what that is saying is that this mountain is always going to be present as a looming threat in the staging area. There is no other way of traveling to Caradhras until a quest card tells you to do so. So that is a looming threat of 3, always in the staging area.
Yep.
And that's pretty much all we know for now. And then when it becomes the active location, characters are going to get -1 willpower, which is going to make it pretty tough to get past with 9 progress required. So that's Caradhras. So that goes up in the staging area.
That's in the staging area. And then the other one, the last piece that you have to do on the setup is put Arwen into play under control of the first player. So she's an objective. These kind of characters are always treated as objective cards, aren't they? When you have somebody from the encounter deck. Okay. So Arwen, she quests for 2. She hits for 0. She has 1 shield and 2 hit points. She's a Noldor. She's a noble. She's an ally. And it says, the first player gains control of Arwen and Domiel as an ally. So that means that at the end of each round, if you're playing multiplayer, this is going to move along with the first player token to the next player along.
Absolutely.
And she has a response. Response is, after Arwen and Domiel exhausts, choose a hero. Add 1 resource to that hero's resource pool.
Very nice too. Thank you very much, Arwen.
Very useful. Thank you, Arwen.
So you're sort of escorting her along. Like every time you take another step, she sort of goes, I don't like doing this, Arwen. And she goes, here, have some money. I mean, I know resources are not necessarily a direct representation of money, but it's just like, I like to just think of her just paying you to go a little bit further. Can I make it more interesting for you?
A proper royal family.
Yeah, exactly.
You got the father bidding you in a slightly, sinister way, and then you got the daughter just chucking money at you if whenever she feels like it. But anyway, no, in all seriousness, so there's Arwen. That last time says, if Arwen leaves play, the players are defeated. Just as a reminder, it does actually, this is for one other bit of information on the insert sheet, which I think isn't there, but it shouldn't need to be, but just as a reminder. It does say on the insert sheet, if Arwen leaves play for any reason, the players have lost the game. It says also, additionally, if a player who controls Arwen is eliminated, the players have lost the game. So if you're playing 2-player or multiplayer, if that person who has control of Arwen is out of the game at any given point, then you're, as a group, you've lost. It's not that Arwen can suddenly flick to the next player or something like this.
No, that's a very good point, actually.
Yeah, worth mentioning.
Yeah, so keep Arwen alive.
Keep Arwen alive.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. So she goes under control of the first player. So we have got a pretty simple setup, actually, then. And then we will flip straight over to 1B, I guess.
Okay, so 1B, flip it over. You require 9 progress to get through this. When revealed, reveal 1 card from the encounter deck per player and add it to the staging area. So it's the kind of thing we've seen before on a 1B, isn't it? Add an encounter card.
Oh, actually, sorry, I'm going to jump in. We may well have seen this before on a 1B, but more often than not, we have seen this sort of thing on 1A. Sort of during the setup, it will say, put this card in the staging, do this, do that, and then reveal 1 card per player, for instance. And then that's your starting setup. On this card, it says to reveal the 1 card per player on 1B. And this led to an interesting question in my brain, which was, at what point do you move from 1A to 1B? Is it during setup still or after setup? Because if it was after setup, you would have resources. If it's already at the beginning of the game, you would have resources. No, but you wouldn't. You're right. Because actually, anytime you turn over a quest card is at the exact point you have finished reading the A side. So even though the setup states that you only set up to the side 1A, actually, as soon as you finish reading 1A, you turn it over and read 1B. So actually, you always complete 1A and 1B before you start playing the game. And the only time you wouldn't immediately turn over a quest card is, for instance, in that last quest of Khazad-dûm, I forget what it's called now, where it's specifically stated, do not flip over stage 2 until the, whatever it was.
Questing.
questing phase. No,
Staging.
Staging. Thank you.
Yeah.
So I got a particularly nasty treachery at one point whilst during setup, and I was thinking, well, actually, can I counter this? Because I had a test of will in my hand, and I couldn't. So it was the usual worst case scenario.
Yeah, it is worth making that point though, because this is exactly the kind of mistake that would come into my head when I started playing this game, and that would be because when you set up, what happens is you get your cards. You get your free resources. You get one additional card at the start of your first go.
Yeah.
You do all the setup stuff.
Yeah.
But actually has to be done in a specific order. Getting those free resources and your first card is that's the first round. Yeah. You haven't even started a round yet.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this is just part of the setup.
Yeah.
So at that point, you've chosen your 6 cards.
Yeah.
Or you've got your 6 cards and you've chosen to mulligan. Then you get your 6.
Yeah.
And then basically you do
all the setup. The only bit which I find confusing is the official setup rules state that you put the quest deck with card 1A facing up. And actually it doesn't say, and then perform any setup which is on that card. It doesn't say, then turn it over to 1B. It's only in the rules where at what point do you flip a card over? It says you flip a card over at the point you finish reading the A side of the card. You immediately turn it to the B side. So, we're making it more confusing than it is. Basically, do 1A and 1B anytime you're setting up a game.
Yeah. Long and short of it is, if you've got a card you need to pay for...
You can't.
But if it was a free card...
you could.
You could.
Yeah.
Right?
But as long as it's a response. You can't play it as if it's just a outright action, because there's no action windows during setup. But you can perform responses.
So if Test of Will happen to be free,
dreams.
You could do it, right?
Yeah. And there is a hero from the core set, Barivor. Is it Barivor?
Yes, exhaust to cancel,
and then you can.
So basically, in that situation, you could exhaust.
Is it Barivor or is it?
Yes, Barivor.
Yeah.
Yes, it is, right?
Well, there
the spirit lady.
I thought it was Law. There's some. Oh goodness, is it?
Who's the other spirit character then?
There are
Eowyn Dunhere, isn't it? Barivor. Oh no, she is Law.
Phaedrid.
Phaedrid is leadership.
Oh.
Hold on. Guess what I've got here? Right.
Core set cards.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I'm actually on Rings DB. Eleanor. She is spirit, but it's Eleanor, not Barivor. Barivor, yes, Barivor is the law one, but Eleanor has a response.
Yeah, Barivor is draw 2 cards.
That's the one, yeah.
Eleanor is cancel the effect, and then you have to reveal another card.
Yeah, exhaust Eleanor to cancel for when revealed effects of a treachery card just revealed by the... It has to be a treachery card revealed by the encounter deck. Then discard that card, replace it with the next card from the encounter deck. So if you did have a situation where you had her... you had no resource and you got something particularly nasty as part of this setup, you could use that response. And that basically, she would say exhausted.
Yeah.
Until all the way to the end of the first round.
And you'd get another card.
And you get another card
anyway. Yeah, so no one's going to do it because she's useless.
There will definitely be a handful of people jumping up and down when they hear that, I think. Whether that's an agreement or not is something that I'll leave to the listener. There must be use.
Well, there are uses, but it's too. Oh, right. Let's have a quick. Let's have a quick core hero discussion. It's too situational with Eleanor because it's only treacheries that she cancels, and you get a replacement card, and she ends up being exhausted.
I think that's the point. I think if it was, she didn't exhaust, but you could, let's say, only do it once per round or something.
Yeah, but for a hero, I think if you can just
but that would be very powerful. And if it was that she could exhaust and cancel for treachery, but there isn't another one, then that's hugely powerful. And then I think that she would become almost like a staple kind of character for some quests. And maybe it's too powerful, if you see what I mean. It's a permanent test of will.
Yeah.
And if you got something like, unexpected courage on her or something like that, then
Yeah.
Then you're talking. Then it's crazy talk, my friend.
I think she would be a bit more worthwhile if she could cancel all when revealed effects rather than just treachery ones, because some of the when revealed effects on enemies and locations can be just as nasty as treacheries.
I agree. Yeah. So what we're saying is, us, the anti-errata brigade. I think I was meant to say brigade. I'm not sure how that came out. We don't want errata. Leave it as it is. We're not asking for anything.
Leave it as it is. Leave her in the binder where she belongs. Okay.
Anyway.
So that's 1B.
We've set up. So where we are is... So we have Arwen.
Yep.
It's part of our crew.
Yep. She's giving us resources every time she exhausts.
Yeah.
An exhaust resource.
And I'm guessing the way I've pretty much always used it, if she dies, it's over. So you don't want to use her to defend.
No.
She can't attack.
No.
Which basically leaves her questing.
Absolutely.
But as we'll see, that is extremely important to this particular quest.
Yeah. Okay. So, but it's not a small amount to get past this first quest card either, though, is it? Is it 9 to get through it?
9 to get through it. Yeah. So Karadras already has 3 threat in the staging area, and you've got another card as well.
Yeah.
So straight away, you've got the likelihood is you're going to have a fair bit to get past, even to get into successfully quest, and to be able to keep maybe a defender up on that first round, the very first round of the game. So you have to be a bit careful on this one.
Sure. And actually, I think we'll just sort of scattergun approach, because like I said, every single encounter card in this set is new. So I think we can just sort of tell a few stories as we go and see which ones we hit. But I was particularly fond of drawing a treachery card as the first card. This is the one I wanted to cancel, actually, which because I drew it immediately. I think actually in my first go of replaying this quest, and it was like, okay, I'm immediately hitting the forums here to see if I can get rid of this before I even play my first game. And it was a treachery card called Freezing Cold, and I don't think this will be the last time that this card gets mentioned today. There's a picture of a very chilly dwarf.
He does not. He looks grumpy,
doesn't he?
He looks like Grumpy out of Snow White.
He's got himself a Ziggle beard and a Ziggle helm.
He has a Ziggle helm. That's an icy white beard.
That is an icy white beard. I should have just stuck with the helm.
He's got a bit of purple going on.
Yeah,
that's how cold he is.
It's a lovely bit of artwork, that. But anyway, this is a particularly nasty treachery, which is why I wanted to immediately find out if I could cancel it. It is a snow treachery, and it states, when revealed, the first player attaches this card to a hero he controls. Counts as a condition attachment with the text, attached hero gets -2 willpower and cannot commit to a quest. Insult to injury there. So you get -2 willpower and you can't commit to a quest anyway.
To be fair, if you've got -2 willpower,
yeah,
you're no good questing anyway.
No, yeah. If attached hero has more than one copy of Freezing Cold attached, discard attached hero from play. This is a nasty, nasty piece of work.
It really is. Horrible. Something just came into my head then.
Yeah.
If somebody has minus number, if you quest that character, if they got -1 somehow for questing, do you then subtract 1?
No, I
from
don't.
Your total, or you just leave it? Does it have no effect?
It's a very good question. No.
He's so bad at questing, or this person is so bad, he or she
no,
holds you up.
I don't think so. I'm almost certain you can't have negative stats because can you? No, because let's say you had, an enemy took away 3 defense and you had 2 defense to start with. You don't get -1 defense and therefore get damaged 1 more. You just lose all your defense, don't you?
Or do you?
Yes.
It makes sense.
Yeah. No,
but one to look up.
I will look it up, but I'm almost certain no, you don't get.
Okay.
I think you can't be lower than 0 or 0.
0. Thank you. You can be below 0, but never below 0.
Absolutely. Yeah, so that, I just thought I'd raise that treachery straight away because there's quite a lot to quest through. Like you say, there's 3 threat in the staging from Caradhras all the time anyway, plus 9 to get through on this first quest card. I mean, like I say, we sort of scattergun around a bit. I mean, I took quite a heavy questing deck with me. I actually went spirit and tactics with my deck. So I was using Eowyn, and well, we'll come into more of the details of the deck a bit later. But I wanted to take Hammer out because I said last week that I had never really played with Hammer, and I wanted to take him out. So I knew that from memory that this was quite a heavy quest that we had to get over the mountains. There was a lot of legwork to be done. So I definitely wanted to take Spirit. I definitely wanted to take Eowyn. So I took Eowyn and I wanted to play with Hammer. I didn't actually remember if it was too fighty or not, but I thought, well, give it a go. And I actually started out by building a deck with Frodo. And it was an absolute disaster. I mean, I've got some stories of when I thought he would be useful and some stories of when he was actually useful, but I could not beat this once with that deck. So I did change it in the end and added Dunhir. So it was a Eowyn, Dunhir and Hammer deck. But my point being, I just chucked in a lot of questing ability. I don't know if you had a sort of similar approach.
Well, I took 2 different decks through. So I did one which was focused more on secrecy.
Oh, yeah.
Which I had done before on this quest way back. So I used for cousins Eowyn and Fërdred.
Oh, yes.
And it was very focused. So Eowyn's obviously spirit and Fërdred is leadership. But most of the deck is geared towards questing. And with that one, I think I played 3, maybe 4 times, and I won every time. It really suited the set, or maybe I just happened to get lucky. I don't know, but it really worked. And then I also had a spirit and tactics deck.
Oh,
and my deck was made from Legolas as my tactics hero. And I hadn't used Legolas in ages.
Well, no, just as you said, and then I went, do you know what? I don't remember the last time I put Legolas in a deck. I love a bit of Legolas.
Yeah, exactly. And I had 3 of my very favourites here. I had Dunhir.
Oh, yeah.
I had Glorfindel.
Ah.
So the reason I had these 3 is obviously you've got a couple of spirit heroes there. I think you need some spirit to get through this one. Or maybe not. That's my view on it. But with Glorfindel's starting threat of 5, your overall starting threat is only, whatever that is, 20? Is it? No, 22. 22, which isn't bad for 3 heroes. And I was also thinking, if your threat is low, you can use Dunhir to attack in the staging area and sort of pop off some enemies.
Oh, yes.
And I was thinking, if you do get in a fight and Legolas takes someone out, then you're adding another 2 progress tokens to the quest.
Well, that's why you piqued my interest when you mentioned him then. I thought, oh, yeah, good old Legolas adding some... Because I think this quest, it's really... Any little extra point of questing you can get and progress on this quest is super, super welcome, because as I think we'll go through some of these encounter cards, it is a real trudge over a mountain range. It takes a long time to get through. I mean, it feels like, well, it's only 9 on that first quest card, but it's like, yeah, well, that's 3 in the staging. You're not getting rid of Caradhras. That is stuck there until a quest card tells you otherwise. And you've got 9 to get through and an encounter card already on the table. Could be a location, could be an enemy, or it could be a treachery like I read out, which gives you -2 willpower permanently.
Yeah.
So
exactly,
it really is geared to slow your progress.
So that deck sounds really ideal and geared towards this specific quest.
Yeah.
Using Legolas and Dunhir and then Glorfindel as well.
Yeah, sounds nice.
So I played that one, I think, 4 times, and I won 0.
0 for 4.
0 for 4. So yeah, it sounded good, but in practice, and I did some tweaks and stuff, I couldn't. I once almost got over line, but I'll tell that story later. But yeah, other than that one go, I tended to get get beaten with it. So interestingly,
I wonder
I got
why.
through it with 2 heroes
Yeah.
fairly well, but with 3 heroes, I've really failed.
Interesting.
Fascinating quest.
Yeah. No, I love this quest. Oh, spoilers. But
Yeah.
well, obviously we are passing over the mountain range here, so a lot of the locations that you come across are very mountainous, and none of them are particularly easy. Yeah, I mean, what do you want to do? Do you want to move on to another quest card, or do you want to grab a few of your encounter cards that you came up against?
Shall we move on just to the second quest card
Sure.
before we do that? I think there's a good reason for this.
Okay.
So let me read out 2A, shall I?
So we have managed to quest through.
So you've managed to get through, you managed to go up the pass,
Yes.
and now the second card, 2A, is called Snowdrifts.
Mm-hmm.
So Snowdrifts. Progress slows as you meet the fury of the mountains. Sudden snows fall heavy around you, and a bitter wind howls down from the peaks. You uncover a shallow depression in the snow, filled with frozen remains. Some of them bear strange markings, as if they had been burned with flame.
Oof.
How many other doomed souls lie beneath the quickly rising drifts? Ooh.
Oof.
Yeah. Eesh. So turn it over. And this one requires 11 progress to get through. And it says, when revealed, shuffle 1 more copy of Snowstorm into the encounter deck than the number of players in the game.
Okay.
And it says, forced. After placing the 11th progress token on Snowdrifts, discard any active location. Karadras becomes the active location.
Okay, so we get through this quest card, and when that 11th token hits that card, boom, we're on Karadras at last.
You got through the Snowdrifts and
Yeah.
you're onto the last mountain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, so it's not entirely different to the first one.
No.
So we're still basically questing.
Yeah.
The only difference is when you finish it, you go somewhere else. Fine, but you can worry about that when you're finished. And the only other difference is you're shuffling a copy or more.
2 copies.
At least 2, I should say.
Yeah,
Yeah, if you're
yeah.
playing solos, 2 copies of Snowstorm into the deck.
Okay, well, I think this is a good time to start hitting up some of these encounter cards then. I mean, do you want to start with Snowstorm? I mean, that's... we've mentioned
No.
it. No? No?
No,
No?
I don't like Snowstorm.
No! It's a particularly nasty piece of work.
Well, what should we do? Shall we go... Well, shall we start with Snowstorm?
Yeah.
So Snowstorm, it's a treachery card and it's of type Snow. When revealed, each questing character gets -1 willpower until the end of the phase.
Yeesh.
Nasty.
Nasty. I mean, it sums up the theme beautifully, though, doesn't it?
It
I mean,
really does.
you're in the snowdrift now. You're in the snowdrift, and now there are snowstorms happening. They weren't happening when you were up the pass.
Yeah. Makes it even harder to quest. To
Yeah.
get anywhere. You're just stuck in the snowstorm.
Oh, it's really unpleasant. I mean, you think, well, you know, if you're looking at this quest completely cold, hey. If you go, oh, it's only -1 willpower on that particular round. But I cannot stress how much willpower you need to get through the things which are building up in the staging, the 11 progress which are now on the quest card. Every willpower point counts. I have a particularly nasty snowstorm story. And this was when I was playing my initial deck with Frodo. And... in order to tell the story, I need to mention first a location and an enemy.
Well, shall we mention one of those enemies or locations?
Well, let me do it. So okay. So I had a location come off of the encounter deck, obviously, and it is called the Warg Lair. So you know already I'm going to be a fan of this because
By the way, it's
Yes?
called Warglair.
What did I say?
The Warglair.
Oh, do you know what? I was so careful not to call it the Warg's Lair. I was like, I thought, how have I got this wrong now? So, it features my favourite creatures, so I'm always going to be a fan. But it only has one threat, so that's not too bad. It is a mountain location. It takes 3 progress to get through it, and it states this: when revealed, search the encounter deck and discard pile for 1 copy of Mountain Warg and add it to the staging area. If able. Again, if able, because you got them all in the staging area already. Shuffle the encounter deck.
But then you wouldn't find it in the encounter deck or discard pile.
Yeah, that's why it says if able.
Oh, if able for the whole thing.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, makes sense.
Shuffle the encounter deck. There is a positive. Not much. Response: after Warglair leaves play as an explored location, each player draws 1 card. So that's nice. So you found something in the Warg's lair. Okay, but the important thing is I was questing, a normal round, and I had Frodo at this point, and I was using Frodo to sort of soak up attacks with visibility. Just anyone needs reminding. Any damage which would ever go on Frodo, once per a phase, you can put it onto your threat rather than taking the damage onto Frodo. So I got the Warg Lair. That forces a Mountain Warg out of the encounter deck. So we go and find a Mountain Warg, and he comes into play. And the Mountain Warg, oh, look at the state of this thing.
He's not the best.
He's a beast, not the best.
Simply the beast.
He has an engagement cost of 30, and he contributes 2 threat. He hits for 4. I say he, could be she. It hits for 4, has 2 defense, and 4 hit points. This is a tough old warg. It's a Mountain Warg. It is a creature, and it states this: it's a classic Warg effect. If Mountain Warg is dealt a shadow card with no effect, return Mountain Warg to the staging area after it attacks. So, we can talk about how nasty this card is in a minute anyway, but just for my you may recall, this is a story about Snowstorm. So I got the Warg Lair, got the Mountain Warg. Mountain Warg engaged me. I thought, right, okay, I will just defend with Frodo because this guy's going to hit for 4. I'm just going to soak up that damage as threat, and then I'll worry about how to defeat it in a minute. So defended with Frodo, and I revealed the shadow card. And the shadow was Snowstorm.
Oh.
Yes. So the shadow on Snowstorm states this: Shadow. Until the end of the phase, characters defending their attack get -1 willpower. That's not too bad. And are discarded if their willpower is 0. That's really bad. But luckily, Frodo has a willpower of 2, so he's going to be okay. No, he's not, because if you remember the first treachery I read out, this was that time I got Freezing Cold off the deck, my first card. It had been attached to Frodo that entire game. So he had 0 willpower anyway, because Freezing Cold gives the characters attached to -2 willpower. So because Frodo had 0 willpower, he was discarded. It was an undefended attack. I had to put 4 damage on a different hero.
So that doesn't just destroy him as part of the attack. He just dies straight away.
It just goes straight away because of the shadow. Therefore, the Mountain Warg still attacks undefended. That went on to Hammer. Hammer was dead. And then I was location locked. So that was the end of that game.
Oh, that's so horrible. So what's worse, for Shadow on Snowstorm or Freezing Cold?
Well, a combination of both is pretty nasty, but well, actually, yeah. I mean, most heroes can cope with the Shadow on Snowstorm, but unless there are other contributing factors, such as
well, I'll tell you what,
Freezing Cold.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Legolas, Quest for 1. If he gets that Shadow against him, dead.
Yeah, don't defend with Legolas.
Done here. Quest for 1. Dead.
Don't defend with Dunhere.
Okay. Hold on. There's more. Hold on. So what about others? So Fairdred.
Yeah.
Quest for 1.
Yeah.
Dead.
Yeah.
So unbelievably, the one who would survive is Eowyn.
Yeah.
But she wouldn't survive anyway because she wouldn't have enough defense. Because the
whole point was that I was Frodo wouldn't survive anyway. Normally, the whole point was that I was going to soak it up as threat. But that was a disaster.
So you need to, so that's horrible. So if you think about any enemy actually, so especially someone like the Mountain Warg who hits for 4, you're generally going to have to use a chump blocker, or if you happen to have a character who's particularly defense worthy. But those kind of characters tend not to be able to quest for an awful lot anyway.
Exactly.
So actually, when this shadow does come up, it's more than likely it's going to take out whoever it is defending that.
Exactly, yeah, because your defenders are not normally your questers. Exactly what you just said. Yeah, so...
so you have to, so cancellation...
Yes, if you can cancel this shadow, that would have been very nice, thanks.
Yeah, because the key point you make is, you got a chump blocker on this, and he dies because of that shadow effect. Then you're getting 4 undefended attack on you.
Yeah.
That's horrible, which is also either going to bring an enemy very, very, very close to death, or generally it will kill them.
A hero.
What did I say?
Enemy. You just wishful thinking.
Yeah. Go have a fight with your warg. Do you hear what he said about your mum?
Yeah. So I just wanted to mention the shadow on Snowstorm, and it inadvertently talked about a location and an enemy. So next,
no, that's good. So weirdly, similarly to you, depending on which deck I was using, this would either be very good or very bad to see. Because sometimes, for ones which don't need a lot of progress on, I could tend to track away. I use trackers a lot on these.
On the locations. Cards. Yeah, so the Warg's
Lair.
Lair.
Get an extra card from this.
The Warg's Lair itself is no problem whatsoever.
It's no problem. It's just putting the additional 1 on, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's just the fact that it brings out a Mountain Warg.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, not an additional card. Yeah, it is specifically the Mountain Warg.
Yeah.
Okay. Shall we mention another mountain or two, do you think?
Go for it. Yeah.
Now, again, thematically, I really like this. And this is called Celebdil. Celebdil.
Probably Celebdil.
I need to go on some kind of course, don't I? So this is a mountain, also snow, and again a threat of 3. You need 7 progress to get through it. And it says, when Celebdil is the active location, remove 2 progress tokens from it at the end of each round.
Yeah.
Now, I love this thematically.
It's wonderful.
It's so good. So you manage just to quest. So even if you quest for 1 successfully, you'll still actually kind of go backwards.
It's 1 step forward, 2 steps back.
Literally that. Or almost. Literally figuratively.
It's figuratively that.
Yeah. But also literally. Yeah. That's a funny one. That's a whole podcast of its own to discuss that sentence. But the theming of this is so great. So I said I was using trackers, Lorien guides, Northern trackers with my real friends, and both of the decks I constructed here.
Yeah.
And if you've got a couple of guides out, you put 2 progress on here. They're going to get rid of those at the end of a round. So you've got to make sure you quest with everyone else. But regardless, even if you don't have something like Lorien guides there, this one, sometimes you need one big push to get you over it before that -2 comes at the end of a round. Then you don't have to worry about its effect anymore, which again, thematically, is really great as well. It's like, right, we've all got to stick together and do this one big push, or we're all going to die up on this mountain. So this works thematically in a good couple, probably about 3 or 4 different ways, actually. And it's not mega nasty when you read it, but actually you can come a cropper of this if you're not careful. You've got to make sure you're able to quest strongly, or you've got a plan to attack this before you travel here. Don't travel willy-nilly.
No.
To Kalevdor. You ain't coming back.
No, it's 7 to get through as well. So, like you say, to try and push through in one big hit, it's possible, but
Yeah, it's not a stroll down to the chemist.
No, and actually, but the thing is, you can't leave it in the staging area for long because you've still got Karajas up there for 3 threat. This is another 3, and you can't just leave it there because there's more coming out.
Well, actually, what I would say is if you've got, I would say, 2 trackers out, this can be a contender to leave there as long as you're kind of can go somewhere else or you're not getting location locked or something, because the effect only happens when it's the active location.
Yeah, that's true.
So if it's just sitting in the staging area, if you can cope with the 3 and you've got trackers, or another way of putting progress on here,
yeah, but it's not a bad one to cope with track the away. 6 though, isn't it? It's cope with the 6.
Yeah, so you've got at least 6 at this point. Yeah, true.
It is tough.
It is tough.
I would say I'm just going to grab because we might as well just rattle through these locations because they're all beautifully thematic. I know we sometimes sort of skip over a few things which didn't cause us that much trouble, but I find this whole quest of locations really set the scene beautifully. And this one didn't cause me too much grief, but I could see how it could be nasty. I mean, it's called the Rocky Crags. Actually, it's just called Rocky Crags. First name Rocky, second name Crags. I'm Rocky Crags. Now this
that was the original working title for Rocky Balboa.
Yeah, Rocky Crags.
Balboa worked better.
This one contributes 4 threat. So again, you don't want it sitting in the staging area, but only takes 2 progress to get through it. So again, a great contender actually for tracking away in the staging area. And this has a nasty travel effect. And it says, travel, each player must deal 2 damage to 1 character he controls to travel here. Yeah, like I said, it didn't cause me too much grief because I was also using trackers. Actually, only in my second deck I put some trackers in. But I also had the West Road Traveller because my deck was pretty much a Rohan-based deck. And that West Road Traveller, she's the filly.
Oh, yes.
And on the back of the filly is the West Road Traveller who can travel there and it bypasses the travel effect. So, but you could only do that, just as a reminder, the West Road Traveller states that you can swap the active location with any location in the staging area. Now, for a swap to happen, both sides of the swap has to be able to be done. So you can't travel somewhere for free, if you like, unless there's something to swap back out again. Does that make sense?
Yes. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Somewhere has to replace where you're going to. So you're traveling.
Yes. Yeah,
you're traveling apart from you're not traveling. So that bypasses that. And then actually the 2 progress to get past it is not too bothersome. So I just try and get rid of that place.
There's another one you can get through for only 2 as well. So another. Well, actually, sometimes you might want to travel here. Actually, so if you're not bothered, so what it is? So Turbulent Waters, which is a mountain and not snow. Like Rocky Crags isn't snow either.
No,
but it's not rock. It's just mountain. This one is also just mountain. So this has a threat of 3. Only need 2 to get through here. So if you do have trackers, you can just track it away. Great. If not, then when Turbulent Waters is the active location, players cannot optionally engage enemies.
Yeah.
I think for this one, because you only need 2 to get through it, but it removes 3 threat from the staging area.
Yeah, yeah.
This one all comes down to, I think, what the situation is. Because what it means, you travel there, you're probably going to quest through it in your next go.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so.
But what it means is as soon as you travel there, that very round, the next thing that happens is you can't optionally engage anyone. So you can actually manage it just by looking at what's in your staging area, what isn't, what's going to engage you anyway. If you wanted to engage an enemy, you wouldn't be able to, obviously, if you travelled here.
Yeah.
But I don't think it causes too many problems. But there would be situations where if you don't have trackers and you really have to travel there and you want to engage an enemy, to really bring stuff out of the staging area,
Yeah.
then it can kind of stitch you up.
Well, I think the trouble is, isn't it, with this? I mean, I didn't really have much trouble with it, but you could potentially see an issue that maybe you're already at a difficult location that you're struggling to get through, and then this place is sat there in the staging, contributing another 3 threat, and who knows what it just builds up so quickly.
I think this is a card you don't want to get when you've got a busy staging area.
No.
If you get this, if you don't have a busy staging area, this is fine, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I do love the theme on this as well. You can't option engage anyone.
No.
There's turbulent waters. You're on either side of a bank or whatever. It's terrific. Yet again, well played.
Nailed it. Absolutely. Okay, well, I think if I've counted up correctly, there are 3 more locations. Oh, well, apart from Karadas, of course, which is still stuck in our staging area. But there are 3 more locations that can come out of the encounter deck. And there are 2 more unique mountains, and then 1 more generic. And let's just do the generic one first, which is Knees of the Mountain. Knees and toes. And that contributes 2 threat and takes 3 progress to get through it. It is a mountain. While Knees of the Mountain is in the staging area, it gains forced. After an enemy engages a player, it gets +1 attack until the end of the round. And this one actually gave me a bit more trouble than Turbulent Waters, even though the sort of statistics are relatively similar. Again, it's a lower threat, but then, of course, its forced effect only comes into play when you leave it in the staging area. So you kind of do want to travel there as soon as possible because, as you saw from the Mountain Wargs there's some heavy-hitting enemies in this deck. You don't want to give them an extra attack.
No, absolutely. What do you think the theme is there? You have to get to the knees of the mountain. Otherwise, it's an advantage to the enemies, right?
Well, the Knees of the Mountain in the staging, maybe the Knees of the Mountain are... So the Knees of the Mountain is kind of like almost the base, it's like the rockety base. Or maybe I'm making that up. I'm just more going by the artwork here. I'm thinking that's maybe where enemies can hide. So if you haven't got past it yet, the enemies have an advantage because they're hidden from sight.
Yeah, so... But it's when it's in the staging area. I think if it was when it's the active location, I think that's right.
Oh, yeah. So that would make sense.
So you almost want to get into the knees of the mountain to protect yourself in a way.
Ah, interesting.
So maybe they're coming from above you. They have the higher ground. Because you haven't reached the knees of the mountain yet. And you all know what that means.
Still at the shins of the mountain.
Yeah, indeed. We're past the ankles. Travelling up the shins. The shins would be a good name for some hills or some mountains, wouldn't it?
Wouldn't it? Lovely.
Yeah, the shins. Probably is in somewhere like East Anglia or something.
Yes, the famous mountain ranges of East Anglia.
The flattest. East Anglia and Lincolnshire, the flattest place in Great Britain. That's why it's called the shins.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, it doesn't get any higher.
Only came up to your shins. Okay, 2 more locations. Should we just do these first? Now, I should say.
Okay, I'll read the last. Well, actually, you said one of them actually isn't a mountain, and that one I haven't seen once since I've been replaying it this time around. So I'll leave that one to you, and I'll read that for one which is a mountain. Oh, I've just seen the name of it, and maybe I won't. Fanwidol. Buy one, get one free. It sounds like a washing powder or something. Fanwidol. No, I'm pronouncing it wrong. Fanuidol or something. I don't know. I can't pronounce it. Anyway,
Fanwidol.
This is enough. This is enough. It's the preferred detergent of the elves.
Get your whites snowy white.
Very good. Shines up your ziggle. Shines up your kibble.
Get your kibble.
Nice.
Ziggle white. Ziggle.
Get your kibbleware. Ziggle. No. No, which one was which?
Ziggle's the colour. Yeah, it was right.
But what was kibble?
The
silver.
metal.
The metal.
Yeah.
Get your kibbleware, Ziggle. Shiny and Ziggle. Get your kibble, shiny and Ziggle. There you go. Get your kibbleware, shiny and Ziggle.
Nailed it.
Anyway, Fanwadol. Mountain snow. It's got a threat of 3. You need 7 to get through.
Yes.
So similar to our friend Celebdil. But this one has a different effect, which is while Fanwadol is the active location, heroes must spend 1 resource from their resource pool to count their willpower during the quest phase. Doesn't sound too bad if you've got a bit of money about you, but may I do the same as you?
Yeah.
And come to a treachery card?
Absolutely.
Because this happened to me. So when I travelled to Fanwadol in one of the games I played, okay, 7 to get through, if I get out of the staging area, fine, okay, whatever, it's a lot to get through, I'll get through it. I've got plenty of resource.
Oh, we should point out, actually, you nearly always will have plenty of resource in this game because of Arwen. If Arwen's questing each round for you, which she most likely is, you'll soon find out you need as much willpower as possible, then remember you're gaining an extra resource to one of your heroes every round.
Yeah. Well, you say that, John. So you have to be careful who you give that resource to. Not just willy-nilly giving it to one of the 2 spirit guys or whatever. So when Fanwadol was the active location, when I was on Fanwadol, I got a treachery card, which was Bitter Wind.
So you had a bit of wind.
I had a bit of wind. And it was bitter. When revealed, the first player must discard 3 resources from each hero he controls.
Eesh.
Yowzers. When revealed, right?
Yeah.
Now, this brought up an interesting question.
Oh, here we go.
Which is, so Fanwadol. What Fanwadol says is, while Fanwadol is the active location, heroes must spend 1 resource from their resource pool to count their willpower during the quest phase.
Yeah.
So that got me thinking, when do you pay this? Right? Can I pay that at the beginning of the quest phase? Right, I'm questing this guy, and this guy, so 1 resource each, boom. Got rid of that resource. I am now counting my willpower. Okay? Then I reveal Bitter Wind.
Ooh.
And I must discard 3 resources from each hero, which, let's say I've only got 2 resources left on each one. They all go, but I'm still questing. Okay?
Yeah.
Or do you only count your willpower during the quest phase at the end when you're doing the calculations and all of that stuff? In which case, what would happen to me is I'd have to discard 3 resources from each hero, wipe me out, then I'd quest for 0.
Yeah,
because
that's how I did it. But you raise a very interesting question.
That's how I did it too, because I thought I didn't spend a long time digging. I just did a really quick search, and it was a bit late. And I thought I will just assume the worst case scenario.
Yeah, no, but actually,
which is what I did.
You raise a very interesting point. I mean, I did it exactly like you did, the worst case scenario. Yeah. So I also had the same scenario, of course. But yeah, it's a good point. Well, to answer one point of your question, yes, when you commit characters to a quest, lots of things can happen that will ultimately dictate how many quest points you've gained, or because of how much willpower you have eventually committed. Because you commit everyone to quest, and then you can play other cards, you could exhaust Faramir, you could do this, you could do that, you could have treacheries which remove willpower. Then you work out how much willpower you are counting.
Yeah.
Okay? So with that in mind, it is only at that point of ascertaining how much you've quested for that you would count your willpower. However, you do raise an interesting point, because it doesn't implicitly state that you have to do it at the point of resolving the quest. That's a quest resolution. When you add up all the willpower, with deductions or additions, and that's quest resolution. It doesn't say you must spend one resource at quest resolution to count their willpower. It just says whilst it is the active location, heroes must spend one resource from their resource pool to count their willpower during the quest phase.
Yes. So the way I read that is I would think you can do it at any point. So as soon as you quest, I wanted to count them this time, so I'm going to do it now.
Yeah, no matter what. No matter what.
Yeah.
Even if something comes out and wipes out all my willpower.
Exactly.
I'm
still counting it, because
So
I paid for it already.
You still roll the dice that something might come along and knock out your willpower, which actually it could do. There's plenty in this deck which wipes out willpower.
Yeah. So I did think that, but I've been in this situation so many times, I think, well, it makes sense for it to work this way. And then usually somebody from Fantasy Flight or whatever has written back to confirm that actually, no, it is the worst possible case scenario. So I thought, you know what, instead of spending any more than 30 seconds doing a search or whatever, I was so into the game, I didn't want to lose the theme that had been built up.
Yeah.
And the theme, and it was getting late, like I say, so I just wanted to crack on. So that's what I did.
I'm going to look it up for next episode. I'm not going to do it now, but I think that's a really good one. Yeah. I mean, like I said, I also did it the worst way.
By the way, that Bitter Wind, I think you're right. There are some games I've played where I've ended up being absolutely minted.
Yeah.
That has happened to me. But there has been the odd occasion where I've been a bit low on resource, but not too bad. But this can be pretty nasty. I think this can be quite bad towards the start of the game as well, when you're just starting to build up. So you want to try and control the staging area initially. If you get this after 2 or 3 rounds or whatever, and you're trying to save up for some other cards, you can suddenly be wiped out of resource,
There was one game I played when I was seriously suffering from Bitter Wind.
Was it a Sunday?
Sorry, I tickled myself. 3 rounds in a row, I got Bitter Wind.
That taxman kept on knocking.
Yeah, but this is. I'm going to jump to a really nasty enemy because basically, I knew that. Well, we'll jump to him now. But there's a troll. There's a nasty troll in this encounter set, and it's a mounted troll. And I knew he was coming for me, so I went, well, okay, I know he's coming for me. I will feint him. It's fine. I received my resources for that round. I revealed a card off the encounter deck. Bitter Wind. No more resources. And of course, I'd committed Arwen to quest, so I'd given an extra resource, probably to Hammer, to make sure I had enough resources to do whatever I needed to do. But of course, Bitter Wind takes away 3, so they were all gone. So then the mountain troll came, and I couldn't feint him. Then he's a nasty, nasty bit of work. But he had the wind on his back.
I think a wind on the mountain troll's back will always be bitter.
Shall I read this guy out? I mean, I know we're sort of jumping around again, but so the mountain troll is this the first enemy we've discussed? Oh no, we discussed also the mountain wag. These guys who live up in the mountain, they are tough. They are tough enemies. The mountain troll, he has an engagement cost of 35, so that's a blessing. I mean, you said you started with a low starting threat. I think my first deck started with 25 and the second one 26, so also he had been up in the staging area for a while, which is why I knew he was coming the next round, but luckily I got a feint, and that didn't work. So engagement cost of 35, contributes 2 threat, so you can realistically keep him up in the staging till you feel like you can face him. Hits for 5, defends for 5, which I feel is almost worse than hitting for 5, and has 7 hit points. He is a troll.
Yeah.
And the mountain troll gets +1 attack for each mountain location in the staging area. So, yeah, you need to come up with a tactic to beat the mountain troll. I won't go into details yet, but
if you're playing secrecy, like I did with just Eowyn and Phaedred, the only 2 heroes, I just left this guy alone.
Yeah.
I say, you're staying there. I'm going to sneak around you. He's just going to go, oh, and not notice me because he's a mountain troll.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, otherwise, what I did with this guy, so Dunhir doesn't help you.
No.
You know, I would, what was the attachment? There's some weapon. I know we haven't discussed this yet in this cycle. There's a weapon which you can attach to like an elf, basically, which takes 2 off the opponent's shield.
Yeah. Sylvan Blade?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is really useful against these sort of high defending enemies like this. But I tend to do that in conjunction with a Gandalf. Maybe get a chump out or get Gandalf to defend. Take 4 hit points off this guy. Yeah. Get Gandalf to defend him, and then use Legolas and 1 or 2 others to finish him off with his shield reduced to 3. Which means you only need to get another. Yeah. You need to get a total of 6 on him, basically, which is kind of doable, depending on who you've got out. That was how I was generally dealing with this guy.
Yeah, I was using. Yeah, again, it's a card that we haven't come across yet, but I'll just briefly mention it. It's a tactics event that's in this cycle, and that's called Unseen Strike. And it's a cost of 0, cost of 0. And it has an action. It says, choose a character you control until the end of the phase. That character gets +3 attack whilst attacking an enemy with a higher engagement cost than your threat. So, I mean, we'll talk about this one a bit more in depth because there's quite a bit to digest there. But essentially, if you've optionally engaged an enemy and that enemy's engagement cost is higher than your threat, you can get +3 attack for that phase. Also, using it with Dunhir in the staging, but like I say, that doesn't really take much off the mountain troll. But what I was doing was engaging the mountain troll, trying to feint it, and then hitting it with hammer with an unseen strike, and then using the hammer effect to bring back feint, hopefully play another unseen strike the next round, and doing it that way. And then, yeah, like I say, try and bring a Gandalf out and kill it. Just out of interest with that unseen strike, I was using it with Dunhir. Now, Dunhir attacks for 2, but when he does his attack in the staging area, he gets an extra 1 when he attacks alone, attacking in the staging area. So actually, with Unseen Strike, you can attack higher engagement cost enemies in the staging area for 6, which is incredibly useful. I was using that, using him to kill mountain wargs in the staging area. Oh, and this was an interesting one with Hammer, that, as I mentioned before, I hadn't really played Hammer much. And just a reminder, Hammer's effect is 3 times per game. You can, when you exhaust Hammer to attack, you can bring a tactics event back to your hand and then discard a card from your hand in replacement. And this brought up an interesting about the timing of his action, because what I found is that I'd have Unseen Strike maybe in my discard already. So if I was engaged with an enemy, I'd make sure when I performed my attacks, I would attack with Hammer first the enemy I'm engaged with, so then I could bring Unseen Strike back to my hand, and then use Unseen Strike with Dunhir to attack the Mountain Warg in the staging, because you have to do it in that order so you can keep on recycling the tactics events. So give Hammer a go. He's quite an interesting chap.
Yeah, I still haven't got around to that. It was, by the way, it was Rivendell Blade.
Rivendell Blade, yeah.
And the other one I found useful against Mountain Troll was one that looks kind of rubbish when you look at it, which is, again, a tactics one we haven't discussed, but it's Hail of Stones.
Oh, yeah.
And all it is exhaust X characters to deal X damage to an enemy in the staging area.
Ah, yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
which is great just because it bypasses that 5 shield. So if you've got Gandalf come out and you've got 3 characters who you can exhaust, you can get rid of Mountain Trop.
That's perfect. Bit of direct damage in the staging area. Lovely.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So,
Oh, that's a great one, yeah.
Yeah, it can be a useful card, that. It only costs 1 Hail of Stones, but it can be really useful as long as you've got the people. It's obviously geared to specific situations, but in those situations, yeah, it's super useful. Anyway, so.
Okay, well, we tangented off somehow. Oh, there was one more location, but actually, do you know what? I might save it.
Okay.
Till we move on to quest card 3. What do you want to do?
Well,
should we move on? We've sort of
let's
covered.
Move on. I think
we've kind of covered the sort of thing we're up against. Let's move on and see what else can go wrong.
Yeah, exactly. So, quest card 3. So don't forget, once you've got through the 11 progress, that forced action.
Yeah.
Again, this is easy to miss. In that you'd think, why is it at the end of 2B rather at the beginning of 3A or something like that to make Caradhras the active location?
It's exactly at that point when that 11th token hits.
Right. But don't forget. I mean, it doesn't say... my question is, so obviously it doesn't say that on quest card 3. Why isn't that just the first thing that says on quest card 3? To make sure you don't forget.
Well,
let's stew on that a second.
Yeah. I mean, I understand why it says it on the end of quest card 2, but why it doesn't say it on quest card 3. I like the fact that it's on quest card 2B, because let's say this happens. You are almost through the snowstorm and you decide to quest with everybody, and you quest with all your trackers, all your heroes, quest with Arwen, and you make it through. You've quested enough, you put your 11th token on, and then Caradhras becomes the active location at that exact point.
Mm-hmm.
So what does Caradhras say? Whilst Caradhras is the active location, questing characters get -1 willpower. Okay, so we're there. So now we burst through the snowstorm, and now at this point, everyone's got -1 willpower. But it's okay. You've already put your progress tokens on. It's done. You made it through. You're on the mountain. You're exhausted. You've barely got any willpower.
And we're on to card 3, which is called The Mountain's Peaks. The mountain peaks are almost in reach, but the swirling snows make it difficult to see, and your strength begins to drain away with the daunting final push to the pinnacle. Ooh. Push to the pinnacle? For a minute I thought it said pineapple. That'd be a strange thing to see on the top of a snowy mountain.
Delicious pineapple push.
Iced pineapple. I'll have an iced pineapple push, please. So, flip it over 3B. You require 13 to get through. When revealed, shuffle all copies of Snowstorm in the encounter discard pile back into the encounter deck. So, on quest card 2, if you happen to see a Snowstorm or 2,
yeah,
they're coming back.
They're coming back. It's not stopped snowing.
Then it says, characters are discarded from play if their willpower is ever 0.
There you go. That's why I like the fact that Caradhras is already there. It's already there. So you go, oh, okay, Caradhras goes into the active location. Questing characters get -1 willpower. They've committed all their willpower. And then this line. Characters are discarded from play if their willpower is ever 0. So the reason why Caradhras becomes the active location at that point, giving everyone the -1 willpower, is at that point everyone is still questing. So everyone gets -1, even though they've already done the business. Then when you flip over to stage 3B, and it says anyone at 0 willpower is discarded from the game, means that anyone who happens to be already questing at that point is gone if their willpower is down to 0.
Yeah. My only question was about, why does it not just says, when revealed, Caradhras becomes the active location, discard any active location?
I think because it makes it clearer that the characters are still questing at that point, so they're gonna
Okay.
they suddenly lose the willpower at that point. Then, I think.
And what do you think the theme is of that sudden switch? I get the theme of Caradras, you get -1, and I get the theme that if your willpower is ever 0, you're gone. You're frozen on the mountain.
Absolutely. I don't know. Well, I think it's just mean.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it is.
I think it's just mean that you think you've made a big push through, and actually, because if you know it's coming, if you can very carefully quest onto stage 3, you can make sure you haven't got any characters who are just going to get wiped out immediately. Like for all your trackers, for instance.
Vedco. All your guides, your trackers, they die instantly.
They die instantly if you happen to have them quested. But remember, if they're not committed to the quest just on that one round, they're okay. As in, they won't die immediately. And then you don't use them to get through Caradras. So you keep them alive. Once Caradras is gone, you can then start using them again, albeit at a risk. They'll only take the removal of 1 willpower, and they're dead. And there's plenty of other cards which will remove their willpower. We've already seen a few. So, yeah.
I haven't finished reading the card.
Uh-oh.
So it says, players cannot defeat the stage unless they have 5 victory points. If the players defeat the stage, they have won the game. Now, it should be worth pointing out, I guess we didn't discuss this, on Fanwidol has 2 victory points. That's a mountain location. Celebdil also has 2 victory points, which is also a mountain location.
Yeah.
And Caradras has 3 victory points. So basically, there is that last card you held back has got 1 victory point as well, but you need 5. So basically, you've got to go up at least one of these other mountains. So you've got to either or both of Fanwidol and Celebdil.
Yeah, and well, let's jump to that other location then, because this is why I held it back. Like you say, it does have 1 victory point, and it's the Dimril Stair. As in staircase. Sounds like it was like a nasty look from Dimril.
You don't want to be getting a Dimril Stair.
Oh, I'll tell you what, you gave me the Dimril Stair. It contributes 2 threat, and it takes 3 progress to get through it. And as you say, it has 1 victory point. It is type Stair, and it has this travel effect. Reshuffle all locations in the discard pile and victory display back into the encounter deck. If you reshuffled at least 2 locations, reduce each player's threat by 11 and discard all copies of Freezing Cold from play. Now, you mentioned you never saw this card. I have played this for years, and this was the first time I had seen this card. And I had replayed this quest a lot. I love this quest, so I played this quest many times. And I read this card, I was like, where's this card come from? If you see this card early in the game, it's golden. Apart from the fact there's a chance you don't have locations in the discard pile yet. So then what I did was I sort of just kept this card in the staging until I could get some locations into the discard pile, either through discarded shadows or explored locations, because this effect is absolutely amazing. You have to shuffle 2 locations back into the encounter deck. Well, you have to discuss this, you have to shuffle them all, but at least 2. And if you do, reduce your threat by 11 and discard all copies of Freezing Cold. So if you've got Freezing Cold on any of your guys, they're gone too. But here's the kicker. Is it too good to be true? Of course it is. If you get this card at the end of the game on stage 3 when you're pushing for a win, especially if it's after you've explored Caradras, for instance, you may be tempted to still travel here.
You might not have a choice.
Well, you always have a choice to travel, don't you? You could just leave it in the staging.
No, what I mean is if you're going to threat out.
Absolutely. You got to, yeah. But then you have to shuffle in all the locations, including the ones which are in the victory display. So
Yep.
all the mountains go back in, including Karadas, if you've happened to already got past it. And then you still need to get those 5 victory points back into your victory display to win the game. So, it's a double-edged stare.
And it's annoyingly, it's got 1 victory point.
Yes.
So you're only going to see this one once, right? It's going to gain you victory display. It cannot bring you over the brink.
No, impossible.
Unless
the maximum it's going to give you is 1.
Unless you've tracked it away. In which case, it doesn't really make much odds to anything. It just gets removed from play, really, effectively.
Well, it gains you. Then it'll give you 1 victory point.
But that's no good to you, because the only victory points other than that are the 3 on Caradras and the 2 on the other 2 mountains.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you've got to get Caradras and one of the mountains to win the game.
Or
that's very, very well designed.
Which is highly, highly unlikely, is that you don't explore Caradras and you've got the other 2 mountains gone and then this one.
That's true.
I've never seen it happen.
How can you get rid of Caradras? Is there a card where you can swap locations and stuff?
Yeah, the I mentioned earlier, the West Road Traveller.
Oh yeah, there you go.
You could move it back to the... Yeah, but why would you?
Well, to get rid of the... when Caradras is the active location,
yeah, it gets rid of that.
At -1. That's the worst thing here, isn't it?
No, but actually that's true. If you happen to already have... this is very, very specific. If you happen to have already explored Celebdil and Fanuadol, they're both in your victory display for 4 in total. And you can swap Caradras back out of your active location and swap it for the Dimral Stair. There you go. No, you don't want to swap it with Dimral Stair. No, you can. You could swap it with the West Road Traveller. No, because the West Road Traveller bypasses the travel effect.
Right, okay.
Then explore it, then win the game. There you go. See, I'm going to attempt that exact scenario.
I'll be honest with you, John. I was thinking something a little more generic. What I was thinking was, if you're strong in tracking, you know, and the key thing is getting that questing characters getting -1, coupled with the quest card effect of if willpower's ever 0, that character dies.
Yeah.
That combo is woeful.
It's horrendous.
Absolutely woeful.
Yeah.
But if you get Caradras from an active location, so if you travel somehow to the Dimral Stair, well, no, because then you would already have had to have explored Caradras, wouldn't you?
Yeah, exactly.
So what's the point?
Yeah. Also, remember, if something goes wrong and you put Caradras back into the staging on quest card 3, you can never go back to it. You can never go back, because the only way you can travel there is through the quest card effects, and that's on stage 2B.
Right. Okay. Okay.
This is a silly idea. It's
okay. All right. Caradras is bad.
Yes.
The Dimral Stair is probably good up until quest card 3.
Yeah. Well, up until quest card 3, it's golden, apart from the fact that you may not have the locations to shuffle back into your encounter deck yet. So
the other tempter.
You have to decide whether or not to keep it there or not.
The other tempter, of course, is if you're basically locked out of the game through freezing cold.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah,
then, if you can, then it's golden, because that's happened.
If you need to get rid of the freezing cold, then yeah. Oh, for freezing cold, by the way, what I did is, even though I was playing a spirit and tactics deck, is I put our old friend in the what's his name?
Miner.
What's our dwarf?
Of Iron Hills.
The Miner of the Iron Hills. And now he's law, but I had, in my spirit deck, I had stand and fight. So what I was doing was, as soon as I'd see the Miner, I would discard him for Eowyn, put him in my discard, boosting Eowyn, of course. And then as soon as I get stand and fight, if I needed to, if I had a freezing cold on anyone, I would stand and fight and bring the Miner of the Iron Hills out and discard freezing cold. Top tip.
Nice one. I did not have any law in my day. Or songs. I didn't go down that route.
No, well, the thing is, you need a way of... well, you could have songs, of course, but if you want to play that standard fight to bring the minor out of your discard, you need a way to discard it. So you need something like Eowyn, which allows you to actively discard a card of your choosing.
Exactly, yeah. Yep. Good tip. I like it. Is it worth just quick revisit on Snowstorm? So I'm going to bang on about this. Characters are discarded from play if their willpower is ever 0. And there's a couple of treacheries, including Snowstorm, where this really comes to the fore.
I don't think it's banging on. When you get to quest card 3B, it is the bane of your life. I mean, everywhere you turn, you seem to have more characters being discarded from play.
Yeah. In fact, I won't go back to Snowstorm. I'll do Avalanche first.
Oh,
because this is hilarious, but also really good.
I think you mean, by the way, Avalanche.
Yeah. Why would you ever shout Avalanche? It's just going to make it worse. So, avalanche.
Make it worse.
You're the guy who caused the avalanche by trying to joke with everyone that there's an avalanche.
Yeah. Guilty.
You are the Peregrine Took of the equation. Throw yourself down next time and save us all trouble. So, avalanche, treachery, type snow.
Mm-hmm.
When revealed...
that's an understatement, isn't it?
Type snow, also type snow, and also type more snow. When revealed, exhaust each ready character, and if it is for quest phase, commit them to the quest. Now, in the normal scheme of things, you think, well, okay, first of all, thematically awesome. It's an avalanche. You ain't getting away with it. You've all got to get away.
Exactly.
Love the theme of it. On any other given day, you think, okay, fine, you're going to be exposed in fighting, right?
Yeah.
You're no one to fight because you're dealing with this avalanche. So deal with that as best you can. You might get some undefended attack or something like that. But the real kicker here is you haven't quested your trackers or anyone else who can quest for one, and you're on Caradhras. And the reason you haven't quested them is because every questing character gets -1, and characters are discarded from play if their willpower is ever 0.
Yeah.
So they won't quest. We'll hold them back till we get through Caradhras.
Yeah.
And then we'll use them to get through the push of the 13 you still need to get through after you've got through Caradhras. And what this does is say, all right, clever clogs, all those ones you haven't quested, actually they are quested. Oh, they're all dead, aren't they? So that can be a game over card. On this.
Oh, for sure. I can add to that if you like. I mean, this is what happened to me with Avalanche. I got it when I knew it wasn't on my first replay, so I knew what I had to do at the end of stage 2 going into stage 3. I was being careful. But I got it basically right at the end of stage 2B. So I was carefully not committing my trackers, etc., to the quest. Revealed it, for want of a better word, at the end of stage 2, revealed Avalanche. So everyone got committed. Therefore, I completely bossed the questing.
You accidentally got through.
Just completely smashed through because everyone's committed to the quest and everyone died. And then I just made a note. Avalanche. Beautifully thematic and utterly awful.
Yeah. Exactly. Very... I love that scenario, by the way. It's hilarious.
Oh, dear. Yeah, that is very nasty. Talking about sort of snow treacheries, I've made another note of a treachery which I think is incredibly cunning. It's a cunning card. And that is Fell Voices. And it's a treachery. And it says, when revealed, return the top 2 snow cards in the encounter discard pile to the top of the encounter deck. Okay, so that in itself is pretty unpleasant because we know that a lot of these snow cards, including Snowstorm, including Avalanche, they're all pretty nasty, and now they're coming next. But But that's not the end of this. It says, if this effect returned less than 2 Snow Treachery cards, Fell Voices gain Search. Now, what I had 2 or 3 times is that it only returned 1.
Yeah, exactly. That is almost guaranteed.
Yeah, so it returns 1 particularly nasty card, Snowstorm, for instance, and then immediately that card surges into play. What a beautifully designed, horrible, horrible card.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's a killer.
Quite literally.
Just a reminder on Snowstorm, by the way, was each questing character gets -1 willpower till the end of a phase. So that point of Snowstorm, when you're on this last quest card, characters are discarded from play if their willpower is ever 0. Obviously, that one can kill everybody.
Oh yeah, just
especially on Karadas, but even not on Karadas.
Yeah, even without Karadas. Exactly. Yeah, that's a very good point. Actually, that's why Snowstorm is particularly nasty. Is that even you go, well, I've got past Karadas now, so I should be okay. No, you won't be.
You don't want Snowstorm. Okay, so the last treachery is Fallen Stones. Actually, I haven't spoken a lot about artwork in this episode. These snow cards generally all have pretty awesome artwork.
They're
all the mountains.
Beautiful. It's so beautiful. I love it. Absolutely love it.
But I think, well, we'll talk about the theming very shortly. But so when revealed, Fallen Stones, the first player chooses 1, removes all progress tokens from play.
No. What's my other option?
Or reveals 2 cards from the encounter deck and adds them to the staging area.
I'll take it.
I go for 1 every time.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I think I only ever saw this when I had stacks and stacks of progress. And it's like, no, don't make me.
That is you and me.
Don't make me put this progress back on.
I see. I don't mind it. It's fine. Well, it does depend. But because you know what's happening. You're going to reveal 2 cards. One's going to be some of the nastiest thing ever, and the other one's going to be another Fallen Stones.
Yeah, it'll be the other one. Yeah, exactly. Oh boy. Okay. Well, actually, we pretty much rattled through all of these cards. We just have sort of 3 enemies to look at. None of them are particularly nice, but I guess that's in their nature. I'm just going to grab one. I'm going to grab one of my friends here. So the Snow Warg. It's like, how much more nasty do you want these mountains to be? We'll put a bunch of wargs up there. This guy has an engagement cost of 28. He contributes 3 threat. He hits for 3, defends for 1, and has 4 hit points. You'll notice that whilst we were traveling through Khazad Dûm, all these goblins all had 2 hit points, and it was just like, they were plentiful, but you could get rid of them really quite easily. They've obviously just gone, right, for this first AP, we'll just make everything impossible to kill. You've had your fun in the mines, but we're on the mountain now, mate.
It's true. But worth bearing in mind, every enemy can be killed by a Gandalf, apart from the mountain troll. Yeah, Gandalf. Just something to bear in mind.
Yeah, he was delayed. So the Snow Warg, it is a creature, and it is of type snow. Now, I find this particularly nasty. It states, allies cannot defend while Snow Warg is attacking.
Oh, generally.
Just generally. So, but attacking is specifically when it's making the attack, not when it's engaged with you. It's when this card is specifically making its attack. So basically, that just means you have to defend with a hero. And it says forced. After a character is declared as a defender against Snow Warg, deal 1 damage to the defending character if able. Okay, this is horrendous. So for a start, no chump blockers. No allies in general, so you have to defend with a hero. And no matter which hero you choose, they're going to get 1 point of direct damage at the point of being declared a defender. Now, this I thought I kind of got round this when I was playing with Frodo. I thought, well, okay, I'll just let him soak up all the damage as threat. but his response is limited once per a phase. So you either have to take the 1 damage that he gets as a defender and put that on your threat, and then he defends for 2, and they'll end up with 1 damage anyway, or you take the 1 damage and then trigger his response for the attack, and you still end up with 1 damage. That's actually the better way to do it, because then you get around any shadow cards as well, though. But yeah, so Frodo is no good with this guy. It's worth noting that if you have 1 defense heroes, or heroes with only 1 defense, I should say, it's often worth just risking an undefended attack, because you'll end up with 3 damage regardless, as long as you don't have a ridiculous shadow card.
Exactly.
And then at least your hero is ready still. So you end up with the same amount of damage on him with an undefended, and then at least you have someone there to fight back. I mean, the shadow card might kill you, but that's Lord of the Rings, the card game. Yeah, so that's the Snow Warg. He's nasty.
You can't get enough of them, can you?
No.
Well, let me move on to a kind of unremarkable sounding enemy in some ways. The Black Uruks, who have a engagement cost of 32, a threat of 2, they hit for 3, so it's fairly meaty, but not mega. They defend for 3, which is pretty decent, but only have 2 hit points.
And that's more like it.
That's more like it. And they're an Uruk and an Orc. And they have a when revealed effect. The first player must choose and discard an attachment from a questing character if able.
Yeah.
Now, that can be really, really quite an annoying effect. And I'll tell you a very brief story about that in a second.
Well, you can tell it now.
Well, I mean, it's really all part of that kind of mega game I had the other day, which I think I texted you a couple of things about.
Yeah.
Is it worth? Have we got one more card to go through? Is it worth going through that card first?
Let's go through that card first, and then we can all settle down and hear the stories.
Yeah, I'll do an abridged version. It's fine.
Around the fire. Well, do we have to say more about this guy for the minute? I mean, yeah, he's pretty nasty, and he can take. I mean, the thing is, it's only 2 hit points, but that 3 defense is still pretty unpleasant, and he hits for 3. He's not a gimme.
No, he's not, and he's annoying because that 3 defense is annoying because Dunhir just can't quite get him. No,
exactly.
Unless you beef him up.
Okay, so the last enemy, and let's talk about the artwork here. This guy, he's giving a piggyback to a warg by the looks of it there.
Yeah.
He's really his best friend is a warg. He's got him there, just sat on his back. Just must really love wargs.
It looks like the wargs are eating his head. What has gone on here, actually? Jeez. Either way, this is not a good situation.
No, but so actually, what is going on here? Because is he hiding behind a rock? Is he just keeping warm? I presumed he was just keeping warm by wearing the skin of a warg, which I appreciate that, by the way.
Yeah, he's just wearing the skin of a warg, I think.
Yeah, or is he sort of semi in disguise because he's kind of crouched behind a rock with a warg's head? Warg's head poking out. It's like
he's just moving his head from side to side.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, it's all right, guys. It's just a warg.
Move along.
Okay, the mountain goblin. He has an engagement cost of 25. So he's coming for you. Contributes 1 threat. Isn't that always the way? When they're coming for you straight away, they don't contribute any threat. Hits for 2, defends for 2, 3 hit points. So actually quite reasonable. I'm a reasonable goblin. It's a goblin and an orc. Goblin Mountain gets +1 attack for each mountain location in the staging area. So get this guy early. He's definitely hitting for 3 because of Caradras, and chances are he's hitting for more than that. So, it's not a lot to say about him. He didn't cause that much grief, but still can be quite annoying.
Yes, definitely. And actually, funny you mention because of Caradras. And when we came back to play this game again, the first time I played it, I'd completely forgotten about the fact that Caradras is forced into play even if you've explored it already. on the last quest card.
Oh, yes.
So I spent a whole bunch of time tracking it out of there. I thought, yes, I got rid of this beast. I got 3 victory points. And then I get through to stage card 3, and yeah, back it comes. Well, I managed to win it, actually. I went through it twice.
Well, it's a beautiful place to visit.
There and back again.
But I do think, actually, that's a good point to just raise for our listener here, that if there is a specific encounter card effect or quest card effect in this case, which says that a specific card has to be brought into play. For instance, this one says that stage 3B says, 2B says, make Carados the active location. If that specific card is in your victory display, it's not out of play. It still can come back. So, yeah. See you back on the mountain.
Yep. That's exactly what. Yeah. But once you do get through Carados, then you just got that mere 13 to get through.
Oh my, yeah.
On the last one. But I think if you can get through Carados, I think you're generally going to get through that last quest card as well. That seems to be the beast of it.
Yeah, it's that usual thing that once you get towards the end of the game, if you have got that far, chances are you have a lot of cards on the table and you can just power through. So, yeah, 13 seems a lot, but the, whatever it was, 9 and 11 on card 1 and 2 are a lot harder, if you ask me.
Yeah.
But it's 13 plus the 9 for Carados, though. So how much progress do you need then, minimal, to win this game? So you need all the quest cards, Carados, and at least one of those 2-point mountains.
So let's say it's 20 for the first 2 quest cards, was 33, plus 9 for Carados, that's 42. And if you can't track them away, then another 7, 49. If you're not tracking any, if the only thing you could track away is one of the other 2 mountains anyway.
Yeah.
Save you 7. But so minimum 42. Otherwise you're talking, if you can track, otherwise a minimum 49.
Yeah.
Minimum.
We're going to get to your story in a second because I want to hear it. I mean, I saw it sort of playing out in real time, but it was too much for me to bear. So I definitely want to hear it again here. But I would say that this is why thematically this is one of my favorite quests to date, because what do you say then? 49 progress required to get from point A to point B.
I never counted them up before, actually.
No, neither have I. It just popped into my head that I thought that'd be a fun exercise. But that is an insane amount of questing, and it takes forever, but in a beautiful, beautiful thematic way. It is so much like you are desperately trying to get through these mountains and through these snowstorms, and then another bunch of allies die, and then you get attacked by a troll and you have to climb up another mountain. It is painful, and I absolutely adore it. So jump to my final thoughts there. I love this quest, but just it seems insane to be so passionate about a quest which takes that much progress to get through. But because of the theme, and because that's one of the reasons why I absolutely love this game in general, it just nails it absolutely. So, but with that in mind, talking of epic quests, the floor is yours.
Well, okay, I won't. I'll tell the bridge version. This game actually ended up taking place over 2 days. But not because it took. I didn't sit there for 48 hours doing it. For another reason, I'll explain in a minute. I started it in the evening, and I ended up finishing it in the morning. And so basically, I think I sort of sent you a couple of shots. The first one was the bitter wind we spoke about. I got 2 in a row, which at one point had kind of wiped me out of progress. Anyway, so as I said earlier, this was the my 3 heroes were Legolas, Dunhir, and Glorfindel. Now, Legolas, quest for 1. Dunhir, quest for 1. So on Carados, there's useless, otherwise they're going to die.
Oh, yeah.
I had a bunch of trackers. They couldn't quest either. I was basically questing with Glorfindel and Arwen. And I had a card called Light of Valinor, which is another one we haven't covered. I think we did mention it, actually, didn't we?
Oh, we did mention it last week.
Last time.
Yeah.
What that means is you attach that to, I think it's any Noldor, is it, or something like that, or Sylvan or something. And
you want to be attaching it to Glorfindel. That's
Yeah.
what you want to read.
So Glorfindel, listener, just as a reminder, will every time you commit to a quest, his threat will increase by 1. Your threat will increase by 1. What Light of Valinor says is the character does not exhaust to commit to the quest. So I think Glorfindel says when he exhausts to commit. Yeah, well, after Glorfindel exhausts to commit to your quest, raise your threat by 1. So it's a perfect card for Glorfindel.
Yeah.
It means he basically quests for 3. Obviously, there's a -1 going on with Caradhras. And Arwen quests for 2. So I wasn't questing for a hell of a lot. So I commit those 2 to quest. This is after a fair while, I should add. This is towards the end of an already epic game. And I drew the Black Uruks. The first player must choose and discard an attachment from a questing player. So there goes the Light of Valinor. And then, on the next go, I drew from my deck the Light of Valinor. But yes. So straight on to Glorfindel. Fantastic. Back in with a chance. Because I'm potentially going to threat out as well. Next card off the deck, Black Uruks. Discard attachment from a questing character. There goes that Light of Valinor. I think my threat was around 41. I'm just looking through this. I don't often do this, but I actually did make a couple of notes here. Now the Uruks weren't too bad because then I could engage them and I could kill them with Legolas, and that was the only way I could put any progress on Caradhras.
Yeah, a bit of progress. Nice.
So I was actually managing to get some progress on Caradhras through killing 2 batches of these Uruks. Because no one else is doing anything. So, my threat got up to 45. I managed to get Gandalf out as well to help me with a bit of a push on the quest.
Was he just wandering around the mountain? This is also what I wonder.
Yeah. Hello. I was delayed. Just find you on a mountainside.
I'm sorry I'm late.
So, then, I had the situation. This was the situation. I had 8 progress tokens on Caradhras. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I had 8.
Yeah.
Thanks to Legolas killing some folk. Now, don't forget. Well, you can't forget. We've said it so many times. -1 for everyone questing because Caradhras. If anyone is ever 0 on willpower because of the quest card, you're dead.
Dead.
So I've got Lorien Guide. Couple of them, in fact.
Yeah.
After Lorien Guide commits to a quest, place 1 progress token in the active location. So if I quest him, put 1 progress on Caradhras, I complete it. But I don't.
No.
Or do I? So what happens? So I thought it through. I was so into the game, I didn't want to spend a long time researching or thinking. But I think from memory, and I think we proved this afterwards, because on the quest card, that's a constant effect, that will hit first. So actually, the second that he commits to a quest, the constant effect will come in first, and he'll die before he can put the progress on.
Just imagine it though. Do you want me to lend a hand? No, don't. No, I can do it. I'll do it. No, I'll do it. No, I'll help you. Oh, I told him not to.
Yeah. You just had to quest, didn't you?
He had to go.
And that was the end of him.
Yeah.
So, I assumed the worst case scenario.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't quest him, and I drew a snowstorm.
Lovely.
Which was basically going to kill Arwen.
Yeah.
So I had my last test of will.
Oh, what a beautiful card.
Managed to get rid of it. So I had 48. And then I managed to get a quest point on Caradhras. So I got through. Because I've quested with Glorfindel as well. And I managed to engage all the enemies.
Yeah.
Okay. Then...
Are we still on day 1?
Yes, it's day 1. This is day 1. So, my threat is 48. I've now got to the point where I've got 12 progress on the last card.
Oh, okay. Oh, no, you got 12 progress. I thought you had 12 to go. It's like, okay.
Yeah. Now, bear in mind that... Okay, well, my threat is 48. I've got no Light of Valinor on Glorfindel either, right?
No.
And I've got 1 encounter card left as well on the deck. And what is it? And I didn't count them, ladies and gentlemen. It was the other snowstorm. which meant Legolas, dead. Dunhir, dead. Every single ally, dead.
Amazing.
The only thing in the staging area was one of the mountains. So it's the one when you remove 2 progress by the end of each one.
Yep.
Right, and that had 6 on it, which my trackers were putting on it.
Yeah.
My trackers who have all just now died.
Yeah. But did you have it in anything in the... What did you have in the victory display at this point?
Well, I got Caradras and I got the other mountain. I'm fine.
Okay, so at this point, you've got Caradras and the mountain in your victory display. You just need one more victory point. Sorry,
one progress.
One more progress on the quest card.
That's right. Yep. I don't think I've remembered this right. I'll be perfectly honest with you. So everyone got killed, apart from Arwen and Glorfindel, right?
Yeah.
Now, I thought at that point I was 1 quest point short.
It depends what came off of the encounter deck.
Well, it was the snowstorm.
Oh,
which killed everybody.
Well, I do apologise. I'm getting a bit confused.
I know. I think what I'm trying to say is... So I quested everyone on a last-ditch push, right?
Yeah.
And I should have known there was another snowstorm.
And it was the last.
And it decimated everyone.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And I was like, well, how unlucky was that? I was 1 off tracking away that last mountain. I was 1 progress token off anyway of winning the thing.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, okay. Whatever. That was really close. I left it there. I couldn't be bothered to tidy it up because it was so late. I went to bed. I got up in the morning. And I thought, wait a minute. I'm actually still alive. Because my threat is 48.
Yeah.
So I thought, I'm gonna go in again. There's no enemies. So I raised my threat to 49.
Yeah.
I drew, I think, Hail of Stones, which was no good.
That's no good, no.
So I had to try and quest for 4 with Glorfindel and Arwen. But I drew I drew the mountain troll.
Oh my.
And anyway, it's a disaster. I should have written this down before we spoke. But basically, the point I'm trying to make, I think, is this quest can be really confusing.
I think the point you've made is I think you've done an excellent job not of telling the story. That was atrocious.
That was woeful.
But you've done an excellent job of summing up my summing up of how much is happening, what is being thrown in your face to try and push through a seemingly uncomplicated quest. As in, it's just climb over these mountains and there are a few things which will affect you. It's not like the quest we had before where it's like turn over this card at this point and this does this and stand on your head and turn in a circle. It's just get over the mountains, people. And you're going to lose some willpower on the way. But it is such a struggle.
It is. I think I have to agree with what you said. So you said that thematically it gives you that feeling of struggling against the mountain, and that's probably what this podcast is going to be like for our listeners at this point. But it's worth the final push. But I absolutely agree. Thematically, it's awesome. I like how long it takes. Actually,
like this podcast.
I like that there's a couple of ways to approach it, but you've got to approach it from maybe a couple of specific ways, I think, to beat it. But this is such a thematic quest. It's such a well-balanced quest, I think, in the way it's structured. I like the way it gets harder as you go on.
Yeah.
Until you just get over that ridge of Caradras, and then it's a little bit gentler towards the end, potentially. Not always, I guess, potentially. No. And it does force you to think about certain things in the game as well. And this is, I think, out of all of the quests that we played so far, this is definitely in the top well, I wouldn't want to give a number, but it's in that top bracket for me.
Yeah, I completely agree. I absolutely love it. I have to second what you're saying there about sort of the challenge it throws at you in all respects. It's sometimes we have quests where we go, well, the locations are really tough, but the enemies don't give you that much bother, or the treacheries. That's always a common one. The treacheries are what makes the quest. We've said in the past. In this one, what I love about it is it's so balanced between horrendous mountains, horrendous enemies, and horrendous treacheries. And it's just like, it doesn't... Often when you play one of these quests, you go, oh, if it's a treachery, I'll probably be okay. Or if it's an enemy, I'll probably be okay. In this one, you just don't want to see anything. You just don't want to see anything come off of the encounter deck.
Yes, true.
But in a glorious way.
Yeah, exactly. Everything's a stitch up. I would say it was interesting, and I don't know. I don't think it is coincidence, but I didn't win a game playing with that sort of free hero. Little bit more of a traditional way of playing, I guess, if there is such a thing. But when I played with a secrecy deck with just 2 heroes, I really got through it at a canter. It was really interesting.
Well, I tell you what, then. Bank that deck, and when we said we might do a secrecy special towards the end of this cycle of episodes. So this would be an interesting one to revisit, so we can look at your deck in a bit more detail, and we can maybe examine why it works specifically with this sort of quest, and maybe take it on another quest and see if it also fares well. But I think it's definitely worth investigation, because I like you say, because it's like it does take a long time to get over these mountains. So even though I started with what I would consider a low starting threat of 26, I think that's correct. By the end, I'm deep in the 40s every time, because it just takes forever. And so I'm curious. Your secrecy deck starts at 20. Did you say?
No, I think the secrecy one's much less. So if the secrecy deck was with just 2... Well, the way I configured it was I could get that Legolas, Dunhir, and Glorfindel one to be secrecy and play it right if I wanted. If I could get some threat reduction in early, I could actually dip below. But actually, that didn't happen. So actually, starting threat of 17.
Okay, that's quite a bit more. Yeah, that's almost 10 more rounds. Yeah. So maybe that's just it, that you just get so much more time to build up forces without worrying about enemies. Yeah, maybe. Because you do get Arwen as well. I mean, Arwen's contributing to willpower every round, because you're almost certainly questing with her.
She's so useful. I mean, I think in the secrecy, I think having her, adding the resource every time and for 2 questing.
Yeah, it's practically an extra hero.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's an amazing ability to generate 1 resource every round. That's great. That'd be right up your street. Or in fact, 2 cards every round would be your favourite hero.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But okay, we'll go into the details of that when we look at if we do a secrecy special.
Yeah, no, nice. Yeah, I mean, deck-wise, I think I sort of pretty much touched on the few things. I mean, essentially, my deck was a kind of based on a Rohan style questing deck with a bit of fighting via hammer and some tactics cards. Yeah, I won't go into too much detail with it, but a couple of cards which really saved my bacon was having the Miner of the Iron Hills and then Stand a Fight to bring him into play to get rid of that freezing cold. And then I was using... I put in 3 Favour of the Ladies, which is a core set card, which is a very simple effect. It's a spirit attachment that gives the hero +1 willpower. Now, I put that in initially thinking, well, I'll just put that, if I can get all 3 of them in an ideal scenario, I'll put 1 on each of my heroes. So essentially just giving them a bit of a buffer when Karajas is the active location, giving everyone -1 willpower. So I know I've got that little extra buffer to try and keep them alive. That was my intention, and I kind of got greedy. And then when I saw more than 1 of them, I tended just to pile them all onto Eowyn and actually sacrifice a hero if necessary and just plow through with a supercharged Eowyn. And actually, I think that is the right play. I mean, it sounds a little cold, but that's Caradras.
That's Caradras, yeah. You know what? Favour of a Lady used to be one of my real go-to cards. And for some reason, I haven't played it in ages. And actually, it is absolutely perfect for this quest.
It's out of favour.
Yeah.
Of the lady.
It's the unfavour of a gentleman. That's a great one. Yeah. That's a really good card to take along to this, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's not one that I actually play that often these days, but I kind of knew that we would need a bit of boosting, because I have played this quest quite a few times over the years, because I do genuinely love it. So I of all the quests we've revisited for this podcast, this is the one I had the most memory of. I didn't remember the exact details, which in my first game when everyone died as soon as I got to quest card 3. But I did kind of remember that, this is the one which willpower gets removed and then you're dead. So I better take something to boost willpower. I couldn't remember the exact details. So I did put that favourite lady in from the beginning. And I didn't really see it that often, but when I did, like I said, I got greedy, just put it on heroin.
The other thing is, I talked about the difference between secrecy and non-secrecy. It could just be the difference between having Eowyn and not Eowyn.
Yeah.
As well. That could be it, because Eowyn is just super, super useful on this quest, I think.
I mean, just think about it. It's 4 willpower, plus 2 from Arwen, plus the potential of ditching a card. You know,
7 every go.
That's 7 every go.
Without worrying about any favour of the ladies or anything else.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, quite right.
Right. Well, this has once again...
This has been the longest yet.
This has been an epic journey.
In line with the quest.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I kind of thought this one might be a bit of a longer podcast because of... we essentially had 2 encounter decks to go through. I knew that would be the case, but we still did ourselves proud. But I do think we should look at wrapping it up, unless you have anything else to add.
Can I tell you? No, I have nothing, literally nothing left to even in my brain, let alone to say.
You are spent.
I am spent. So this, as I'm feeling spent, I'm prepared for some bidding from some elvish lord.
Yeah.
Go and do this unbelievably dangerous thing, will you? Can you please take this girl to see her father? And we'd like you to take her over the most dangerous mountain in the country to do that, please. Thank you very much.
The hard way, please.
Yeah. I sense a vested interest. It's a power play from Celeborn.
Yeah, nice. All right, let's wrap this up. So next episode, we'll be back to player cards. And I think, I mean, we haven't discussed this, but I think let's do tactics player cards, because we've already kind of mentioned a couple of them this episode. So it kind of makes sense. Let's as we're both playing a bit of tactics at the moment. So that would be nice. So in the meantime, if you would like to get in touch with us, there are a few ways you can do so. You can contact us directly via email, which is latertherings@gmail.com. We have a presence, a very vague presence on Twitter, which is @latertherings. If you do contact us, I will respond, but we don't post very much on there. You may have noticed. And where we are more active is the Board Game Geek thread, which, as ever, there'll be a link to in the show notes. So, with that, all it leaves me to say is until next time, take care out there, and goodbye.
Goodbye. Goodbye.